what could be interesting to develop, and the obvious answer was community-driven projects. It has developed so much faster than any of these neighborhoods. We can build a beautiful future for the community. We're trying to be as useful as possible. I think it was a good decision to come to Dubai.
Bridging the gap between Dubai and Bali capital.
Went from 10 million in July and to 12.5 million today. What happens in 2028?
Latest news and updates and everything that's been happening. Over to you, Sam. Bali Business Club, Omri once again, Dubai session number 2, yeah?
Hi Gawain, how are you?
I'm fabulous.
Yeah, it's the second time we shoot in this studio. It's called UPod.
Yeah.
Let's promote them a little bit. It's in downtown, and it's quite a good studio.
And we're nursing a bit of a hangover today. Why is that?
We had a bit of an event last night with a lot of investors for the fund, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Not a hangover because I don't drink.
You don't drink? Well, I mean my hangover.
Yeah, I had too much Coke Zero, that's for sure. But it was a very good event.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Was that the Guild downtown? Yeah.
The Guild, amazing restaurant.
20 odd people, I'd say. Yeah,
exceptional.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
And you've been living in Dubai now, what, 2 months?
2 months.
Wow, congratulations, you survived.
Thank you, yeah.
Against all the odds, we all thought you'd be scurrying back to Bali.
No, I'm quite happy here. I really enjoyed the city life. It's been some decades. I haven't lived in a proper...
Since Paris, yeah?
City,
since
Japan. Since Paris, like
Paris,
2000 something. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I love the city a lot. I really enjoy my life here. I'm going back to Bali in a month, in December.
Cool. So everybody excited to see you?
Well, I guess.
Maybe.
You?
Party of one.
Hopefully. But it's. I think it was a good decision to come to Dubai and bridge the gap between, Middle Eastern investors and Asian, in Bali anyway, projects, investments.
We did a podcast on that, the last one, so check that out. Bridging the gap between Dubai and Bali capital.
Yeah.
Worth looking at.
With Lauren from Editor.
Yeah.
Who organized
the event.
Absolutely, yeah. It's very interesting. I mean, I'm just starting, to be very honest with you. The first month was more like getting an apartment, getting a car, getting my daughter into school, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. So now I'm just starting to actually work.
Do some work, finally.
Proper work, yeah. It feels good.
Okay.
But and I can see the potential here. It's quite amazing.
Yes.
It's limitless,
to be
honest.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, and today, what are we talking about?
Okay, let's talk about the fund in general, like what are the news, and then we'll go on a small FAQ type or Q&A questions that are the most asked questions we get from new investors or potential investors or people interested in the fund. A lot that we got from social media, from private messages or comments on social media. And I think you've made a little list. So you're gonna grill me on this.
I sure will. Okay.
All right.
So let's do that after the break, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back, Omri, and we're talking about the fund, latest news and updates and everything that's been happening. Give it to us.
We are at $12.5 million AUM now, as of a few days ago. The valuation of the fund is every 3 months, as you know. People don't know, maybe. So the next one will be like, I think it's the 2nd or the 5th of January, something like that. Let's see where we are then. We were at 10 million at the last, and we did the podcast for the 10 million here. That was exactly 3 months ago, 3.5 months ago. So we went from 10 million in July and to 12.5 million today. Let's try to double that in the next 3 months, maybe.
Going in the right direction, okay.
Yeah. The fund is doing great. Let's talk about Kedungu maybe a little bit. The school has been running for now 2 months since we opened in mid-August. We have some really, really great feedbacks from the kids are happy. You can tell they are happy, and the parents as well. So that's really cool. Teachers, head of school, everyone is happy in that school. I regret a lot my daughter not being in the school, and she does as well. She tells me all the time, I wish I was in Grow and so on. Yeah. But it is what it is.
Yeah, it looks fun. I watch the socials all the time, and it's lots going on.
Yeah, it's
animals
super
cool. To cooking to the planting things.
Yeah, the farm, the chicken, eggs. It's very, very cool. They have a lot of great activities, and it's it makes you want to be a kid again. Yeah. So that's the school. Price of the land in Kedungu has increased substantially in the last few months. There's a lot of projects that have a lot of developments. I mean, a lot of new businesses, a lot of restaurants that have opened. There's a lot that are opening or in process. Yeah. There is a beach club being built. Family beach club, not a boom boom beach club.
Okay, that's on the beach by Bali Beach Glamping, yeah?
Just next to Bali Beach Glamping. And it's a project spearheaded by Chiputra and Bali Beach Glamping, and we also have something in there. Okay. So yeah, that's
keeping busy. Growing.
Keeping busy.
Everything's in the right direction.
Yeah. So one of the big news of the fund lately is that there's basically the fund was up until now on two main axes. So land banking and development. The school being the first development. Yeah. We started recently to go into private equity. So for those who don't understand, private equity means acquiring shares of existing companies. Yeah. And the first two businesses that in which we invested is Bali Beach Glamping. So we acquired some of the shares.
And that's a done deal, obviously, yeah?
We're in process right now. It's happening now. And the Bali Beach Club.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. There'll be more in the future.
Yeah, it's a good start.
I don't know yet what, but it's a good start. Yeah.
Good profitable businesses. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, any other news, or can we just kick off onto what's frequently asked questions and what the fund's all about? Because I think we'll put this in all the places where new investors or new viewers will see this. So I think maybe just, unless there's another news update, maybe just start on what is the fund and why is it called the Kedungu Fund, and give us the elevator sizzle.
Okay.
Is this the first time you've ever done this?
Yeah, no, I've done this like 1,000 times. It's very boring for me.
Well, let's get some life.
How about you do it?
No. This is your sizzle.
Okay, you answer the first question. What is the fund? I'll do the rest.
What's the fund? Oh, me?
Yeah.
The fund is a private equity, Singapore-based kind of Bali investment venture. It focuses on Kedungu and primarily on land banking.
All right.
Over to you, Sam.
Okay, so you said it all. It's based in Singapore. We are incorporated in Singapore, and we are specialized in real estate. Okay.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of private equity now, a tiny bit, but the main thing is the real estate.
Land banking specifically.
Yeah, originally was just land banking when we just opened the fund, and then we thought, okay, this is silly. We know how to develop. We know how to run a business. So let's do something greater than just buy land and sell land. I mean lease land, because we do lease mostly. And that's when the school project came. So we had, to give you a little bit of a history. We saw, okay, what are we going to do? The first thing that comes to mind when you're in Bali and you want to develop something is make villas, yeah. But we decided that there's a lot of people that do it very well and probably better than us. And we decided that we didn't want to do just like everyone else. And I've always done that in investments as well. In my businesses, I don't like to do too much like everyone else, We said, okay, so what could be interesting to develop? And the obvious answer was community-driven projects. So projects that are not beneficial to like one family or five that come and live in Kedungu, but are beneficial for much more people. So like the school was the first project. We have in the works a small shopping plaza with maybe some offices and mixed-use facilities, I don't know, and then a medical center. I think the medical center is a little bit too early for Kedungu today, but
maybe
probably next year or the following year. I mean, at least starts. Yeah, the shopping plaza will happen soon. So announcement. Ta-da!
Really?
It's not. We don't have everything yet under control. We don't know exactly how, where, and so on and so forth. We have a few projects, a few concepts that we've been working on different plots that we have. So there's the 30 ARA plot in front of the school, and then we have 9. I think it's close to 9 ARA, more towards the beach after the real estate agency.
Okay. Before we get into more details on that, why don't we start on the little genesis story? Because I think it's a nice story that people like to hear. Why, like you're in Pereiranen, you focus on Pereiranen, and then you're investing before, and how the whole genesis idea worked, and friends and family, and how you wanted to buy all the land up and down Pereiranen High Street and you couldn't, and the whole.
So the whole, how did it start? It started with me investing in Kedungu. So I put about $500,000 in land there, just for myself. What we are doing in Kedungu, I did in Pereiranen. So, but back like 5-6 years ago, we didn't have as much money as now, and it was very frustrating to not being able to buy the whole street, and make a massive profit. So we bought a few plots, including leasing our office. When I say buy, it means acquire. Sometimes I say buy, but it's not the right word. So it's more like leasing, because most of those plots are leasehold. So anyway, we acquired a few plots. We sold them a few years later, made a huge profit. And so I wanted to replicate that in Kedungu, which I did on my own. I had not at all in mind the idea of making a fund back then. So that was in 2022, I think, end of 22. So I bought a couple of plots. And then my friends told me, Omri, can I join in with you? And they know I'm good with this kind of thing, like what I call pioneer investing. So identifying places where the trend is going to come and that are going to become, well known and more touristy, and investing in those places. So a few friends came to me and said, Omri, can I join you? Can I give you 100,000, 200,000, whatever? I said yes in the beginning. And then after realizing that I was going to be diluted like crazy with my 10 good friends, I told them, guys, just do your own things. I do my own things. You're big boys, and that's it. And then after a while, I said, okay, this is silly, because I have these people. They have volume of investment, potential volume of investment. I have this knowledge, this expertise. How can I, find some match between both areas, and that's when the fund idea came. So I don't have a financial background, so I had to study really hard for it. It took me like 3-4 months. I read all Investopedia. I watched thousands of hours of videos on YouTube, maybe not thousands. And then we started the fund. You weren't in at the time, I think. You came after, we started the funds. It was a bit chaotic in the beginning. It was complicated because a lot of things we didn't think about with Singapore and countries and whatnot. On the compliance side, on the technical side, banking side, and so on and so forth. So it took 3-4 months. Inception of the fund was March 2023. And so the funny story is that none of my original friends came in when we started the fund, because I took too long, so they invested somewhere else. And so I found 10 other friends plus me, so 11, and I put some money, they put some money. Currently I have maybe $500,000 in the fund, so I have skin in the game as well. Many people ask me, how much of the fund is yours? And then some friends that put back then the entry ticket was $15,000, I remember. So it was very low,
Early bird,
Some of my friends joined, and I thank them for the trust. We call them the OGs, and the early adopters, more politely.
Early adopters,
it all started with that, and with them and me, and then the rest is history,
So why Kedungu? Like, tell me the story about how the West Coast development wave travels and why. Like, why does that happen?
So basically, the golden rule of real estate in Bali is to understand 3 principles. The first is that government is always pushing for more and more tourists. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest ever was this last quarter.
There's basically 500,000 tourists more every year, more or less. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have to sleep somewhere, they have to eat somewhere, they have to go on the beach somewhere, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So that's rule number one. Principle number two is that you can't build upward in Bali. The maximum height you can build is 15 meters. It's a law that dates from 1967 or 8, something like that. And as you know, when you're in Bali, you can see, if you look at the horizon, there's no high-rise building. It's only like 4-floor maximum. Yeah? With that in mind, if you have more people and you cannot stack them up, then the expansion is horizontal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's fairly easy when you look at the map. You look at where it's developed and where it's not developed, and you know exactly where it's going to go. So you just have to see how long it took to go from point A to point B, from point B to point C, and then you know right away how long it's going to take to go from point C to point D. Mm-hmm. So that's my recipe.
And there's one other thing that you kind of hyper focus on.
That's the third principle is to fine tune exactly where, on which actual street to invest is the surf break. So surfers are always the first to go somewhere, and an area, a region, a village will always develop faster if they have a surf break than if they don't. And it's also a different kind of development. If you look in Bali, for instance, from Kuta all the way to Perenan, you have surf breaks, so it has developed fairly evenly all along the way. Yeah? After Perenan, there's no more surf, and the next surf spot is Kedungu. You know, because you're a surfer, yeah?
I do know that, yeah.
Yeah. So if you look, for example, at Chemagi, so what do we have in between? We have CC, massive green zones and so on and so forth, yeah? Very beautiful. I love CC. It's super lovely, nice neighborhood, you know. It's very recent that there are a few restaurants. There was nothing for years, yeah? And then you have Chemagi, which has no beach access, basically. Chemagi is just residential. There's no business. There's one restaurant, maybe two.
Yeah.
You know, Riviera has in front of the Bloom School. That's the only restaurant basically, and maybe a couple of warungs. Yeah. And there's there's nothing.
Suburbia.
Yeah. And then you have Nyani. Nyani is another story because it's a different big investment with you have Nuanu. Sorry, Nyani, who has development called Nuanu, yeah. And then Tanalot. So Tanalot is Tanalot. There's a temple. There's nothing there. And then there's Kedungu, yeah. And if you look at the development of Kedungu, if you look at the last, 2 years, it has developed so much faster than any of these neighborhood. Then you can forecast what's going to happen in the next 3-4 years. I mean, there's one new business opening every week or so, restaurant or whatnot. So imagine multiply by 100 weeks or 200 weeks, you know, it's a lot, yeah.
But I think that kind of sums up the Kedungu Fund, where it is now, what's been happening. I think let's just get into some FAQs. So what we've done is taken, we've obviously done a lot of investor calls, etc., etc. So we get asked a similar amount of questions. What's happening? How is the fund structured? Fees, returns, everything. So let's start with maybe just a quick overview of where the fund is right now. So how far is it in? How long is the fund going to be around? When did it start? And when does it close, etc.?
Okay. It started in March 2023. With a horizon of 5 years. Okay, so maturity is March 2028, and we added 12 months, an extra 12 months to be able to spread the liquidation of the assets on a longer period. We'll probably start liquidating around, in our opinion, as per our projections, maturity of the market, not the fund of the market, is around 2028. Okay. Between 28 and 29. So we'll probably start liquidating some assets around
So when you say liquidating, you're just going to sell either to individual buyers or another corporate or...
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, sublease to whoever has the money to buy, to pay for it. So we'll probably do that around Q3, Q4 2027 and spread it up until like 2029.
Okay. And so what returns has the fund received to date?
So I'm not going to talk in terms of IRR because no one understands that unless you're in finance. But in layman's terms, very easily, people who have invested in the very beginning of the fund have doubled their money, basically. So
from day one, yeah?
From day one, yeah. Okay. So if you had put $100,000 in March 2023, you would have $200,000 today. That's net profit, net ROI. So this is done, from our projections in a very conservative way of calculating that. Thanks to our friend Chris and Paul, financial analyst, and Elias. It will be a little bit less than 2x now, between now and the maturity of the fund. So if you put $100,000 now, you will have a little less than $200,000 in the next 3 years, more or less.
Okay.
So the growth is still growing very fast. It's still much faster than anywhere in the world, the returns, but it's a bit slower than the first tranche, the first segment of those 5 years.
And then it'll kind of plateau.
It will plateau at the end.
2029, 2030 as the prices get, like Pererin's doing now.
Yeah, exactly, and it all has to do with the escalation of prices, of land prices. So it goes up very fast, and then it slowly plateaus towards the end of the 5-6 year period cycle.
Okay, so it's a 5-year fixed term fund, capital appreciation focused. 2023, exit 2028, 29.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question I get asked a lot is how's the fund structured? And why is it structured like that?
Basically, investors become shareholder of a company in Singapore. Okay. That company controls the PMA in Indonesia, and that PMA acquires the asset, does the operational, and so on and so forth.
So when you say controls, that means company
is the main shareholder of the PMA.
Okay.
Yeah. So the PMA, the Kedungu Fund, is owned by the Singaporean company. Okay.
And why?
In the very early days, before the inception of the fund, before we started it, we didn't have a plan to be incorporated in Singapore, but we realized that. So there's a few reasons. You realize that the ease of onboarding is paramount to the good functioning of the fund,
especially with foreign investors.
We have investors we have never met. Okay, and in Indonesia, if you want to change the ACTA, so the articles of incorporation of a company, there is a notary process. Okay, and hypothetically, you're supposed to sit in front of the notary on the same day as every other investors and sign the change of ACTA. So if you have like 10 investors, all 10 must sign. There is a way to sign remotely, but you have to legalize a bunch of documents, to put the apostille on a bunch of documents, go to the embassy, do the certified translation, so on and so forth. It would be
impossible.
It would be impossible, I think Singapore is a little bit ahead on that level, in that area, compared to Indonesia, compared to France as well, actually, and many other countries. So everything is done online. So KYC is done by Singapore. So we have a corporate agent in Singapore called Slick, quite famous corporate agent. It's like the legal legends, our legal legends in Singapore counterpart. And they handle the KYC. They take care of the onboarding, and everything is done. They have like an admin on the website. It's beautifully done. It's very, very smooth.
So easy access investing probably takes 2 weeks or so, I would say, on average.
Yeah, not even.
Yeah, you don't have to be there. You just sign remotely.
Everything is done remotely. It's stamped, blah blah. To get the actual share certificate is the thing that takes the most, because it comes from Accra. So which is the corporate arm of the Ministry of Finance in Singapore. And depending on if there's a holiday or not, it can take up to like 3-4 weeks. But regardless, for our investors, as soon as they have sent their capital, their investment is starting to
accrue.
To work.
And then I suppose another question: audits, valuations.
Yeah.
Who does that? How transparent is it?
It's very transparent. We have our two main partners would be KJPP. It's an Indonesian land value. I mean, it's an Indonesian valuer that values companies, but also value real estate. And we've been working with them. They are the one that's so they periodically value some of our assets, and not every one of them because it's pointless, but some of our assets are strategically in strategic areas of Kedungu, and then if they value this land, then the land next door would have the same value. So this is why it's only some assets, and then we basically take those valuation and make and use them for the valuation of the fund for the NAV.
What is the NAV?
The net asset value per share.
It's like the share price.
The share price. So today the share price is at $120.05 USD. Next month or the month or the following, they will start valuing some land and the school and different assets that we own. And depending on the valuation, it will increase the share price to 130 or 125 or 35 or something like that.
Okay.
So that's on the valuation side, we have another partner for compliance and governance and transparency called Mazars, Mazars, very, very famous auditor.
Part of the top 5, I think.
Absolutely. It's worldwide, and they check our books basically. So if they see anything that's wrong in the books, they flag it. If they flag it, we're in trouble.
And they do a formal yearly, annual audit, and then a quarterly. I think quarterly or half year.
Quarterly. It depends on we don't have a full audit quarterly. We have smaller audits and then a full audit yearly.
Okay. So how do investors, what kind of investor reporting is there? Is there a newsletter or a report or dashboard? Or
you do the newsletter. You should know.
I do.
Don't ask me.
I'm the interviewer here.
All right. So Gawain, what is the communication with the investors?
Well, before we get onto that, why don't we talk about the dashboard? That's your baby.
The dashboard is from very, very the very beginning. I insisted to have a beautiful, lot of information. So when you become an investor, you access that dashboard. People that are not investors can access demo. I think it's thekendungufund.com/demo. DEMO, and the login password is pre-filled here. But investors, Demo doesn't have all the information, but the investors have. And they have basically everything that's related to their investment, how much they invested, when they invested it, how much is it worth now, what is the return on investments, and then the information pertaining to the fund in general also, the NAV per share, the liabilities, everything you need to know about the fund is there. And
there's some news and all
the docs, all the legal docs are there for everyone to access. If they want to see what's the how the PMA is done or the private limited is done, everything.
Okay. All right. And another question I get asked is the fund locked, or are investors able to exit early?
Good question. They can and they can't. They can if they want, but there's a right way and the wrong way to do it. The wrong way would be to ask the general partnership. We've put in place a measure to prevent investors to remove their investment before maturity. The reason behind that is that if someone decides to get out, because we don't hold cash because all our cash is, we try to invest, to hold as little cash as possible, because it's invested. If you have put $1 million and you want your $1 million back, I wouldn't know how to pay you back.
You gotta go and sell something.
I would have to sell something, and if I sell something, it would be detrimental to the other investors.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. So the measure we put in place is that if you're an investor, you have invested in the fund and you want to get out before maturity, you would have a 50% penalty, which is a lot. Yeah. So needless to say, no one is going to do it. Yeah. Now, that being said, we understand that people may have, everybody has different life and some problems and some financial problems, and they might need the money for some reason, family or whatnot. So we let the investors, as much as they want, sell their shares of the Singaporean company at the price they want to sell it.
So either to other investors or a new investor.
So if they sell the shares, we have the right of first refusal. So they have to tell us. That's the only condition. They have to tell us. And if we want to buy them back, then we are
number one.
We're number one. If we don't say okay, then they can sell them to their neighbor, their grandmother, whoever. I don't care. And then they can get whatever money they get from them.
Okay. So it's a fixed term fund, but it's not locked.
Well, it's not locked, but it's half locked.
Okay, so you work in the Kedungu community. It's a small, close-knit community. It's started off a small village. It is getting bigger, but I know we deal closely with the Banjar. We have a school there. We're very interconnected with the community. What things have we done or are planning to do to obviously improve the life, grow Kedungu at a sustainable rate? All that kind of CSR/community initiatives.
I think the biggest thing we've done, we do 1,000 things all the time, whether a small donation to some youth club or some group of whatever, but the biggest thing we did, I think, was to install street lights. There was no street lights in Kedungu, and to my surprise, there was no plan to install street lights. No immediate plan. So you would drive in Kedungu, in the middle of Kedungu at night, it would be like
dark.
Completely dark. Just the moon and the stars to guide you. So we installed street lights in all the center of Kedungu, which was cost us like $25,000, something like that. Wasn't free. We donated, so some people know, but most don't know. Kedungu Fund is part of a group called Kosong Satu Group, and that group, well, not anymore, but used to have a company called Bali Prod, film production company. We just split last month, but that company had a massive wardrobe of clothes, all brand new from Zara and H&M and so on and so forth, from all the shoot we had for the last years. And we've donated that wardrobe. Plus some people also brought their own clothes, some people from Kedungu. So we donated about a bit over 200 kilos of clothes to some families in need in Kedungu. Boxes and boxes and boxes of Zara clothes, basically. That and a bunch of smaller things. We're trying to be as useful as possible. Gede, our Indonesian partner, that's on the ground there. There's a way we can help. The Banjar knows we are here to help, and we are happy to help. It is my opinion that locals and foreigners should work hand in hand to better the life of the village and the community. Tourism is inevitable because it's coming from higher up. Jakarta decided to have more tourists because it's foreign currency coming into the country. I think it's very smart. It's a very smart move on an economical standpoint, and it is what it is. Those people are here, and there will be more people, more tourists. So more tourists, more expats, more everything. And I think that if we are, if everybody is open-minded and calm about it, and smart about it, we can build a beautiful future for the community, and this community that as side by side, foreigners and Indonesian.
And I think listens to the rules and regulations and all those kinds of things that are sometimes, if we all abide by those kinds of rules, Bali should develop in an orderly kind of
absolutely
fashion.
I mean, there's a big thing about green zone and people building on green zone, so I completely agree with it. I think it's outrageous, and we don't build on green zone. This is one thing for sure, and nobody should. Okay, and if the rules, I mean, the problem of Bali is there's a number of rules and they are not well enough enforced. And if everyone was playing ball and respecting the rule of law, then there wouldn't be any problem. The problem is that not everyone does it, But we believe that we can, show the way and lead by example. So this is what we try to do.
So back to the land question quickly. So you've got we got 23 properties at the moment, or 23 land parcels. What is the selection criteria? Like, why does that land make sense and that one doesn't? Like, how is that process? So, originally, I'm more of a street front land kind of guy than a residential land kind of guy. So we focused a lot on acquiring as much street front properties as we could. So we have a lot of properties on the main street of Kedungu. You can see our little signs left and right, We don't have a lot of residential because there's plenty of that, and the value of residential land is less than the street front land, and the price escalation will be less as well. At maturity, we expect residential land, like prime residential land, to be around 45 million per ARA per year, whereas street front, commercial street front, will be anywhere between 60 and 70 million. If you look at Perenan now, I mean, if you find it, and I doubt you find it, nothing, you would probably pay around between 60 and 90 million per ARA per year. If you try to get land in Batu Bolong, which is impossible, I would guess it would be like 100 or 120. So, and there's no way those prices can be applicable for residential. It's just not possible. You need, if you pay that expensive a piece of dirt, you need to make money on it. You can't just live. So it needs to be a business, a restaurant, a supermarket. But nobody wants to live on a high street anyway. So
exactly. So our strategy was to acquire as many high street properties as possible, and then now it's hard to they don't come by so easily. So we are getting more and more residential, or some street front, but some smaller streets or
mixed use kind of stuff. Okay, and then I'll say final question, unless you got anything else to throw in here.
I have nowhere to be, so.
What's next? I mean, after the fund, after 2028, what's the plan?
This is a question that's recurring. I get asked this all the time. What happens in 2028? The plan is to basically all the assets that we have not developed. So basically the empty plots, we will liquidate, provided that the price has reached the level we want it to reach. We will liquidate. So anywhere between 40 million and 45 million per ARA per year. The assets that we have developed, my idea is to turn the Kedungu Fund into a private equity fund. But that I would have to have the agreement from all shareholders, of course. But this is something we'll discuss, when the time comes. But the assets that we have developed, or the private equity that we've acquired, so Bali Business Club and so on and so forth, and that are generating good yield, I mean, in my mind, it doesn't make sense to sell. It's we've done the hard work. We've got them.
He's selling undervalued. It's just not mature enough to sell.
If the shareholders agree, my idea is to keep those assets and turn the Kedungu Fund into a private equity fund that will manage those assets, those existing assets, and possibly acquire more. Yeah. So that's basically what's happening.
And then the next land fund, is it something in the works?
We have some ideas on the next land fund. Maybe Ganga, maybe Kerating. I'm going to stay vague on that.
Well, yeah, I think that's it. Unless you got anything to throw in?
No, I think we've covered quite
all.
a bit of basic stuff. But basic but important, yep.
A long podcast, or longer than we planned it to be, but yeah, some important information. And yeah, I think that's it. So
it's getting hot also. We're
it is.
Turn the air condition back again.
This is Dubai. Starting to sweat all under these lights. But yeah, cool, thanks. We'll do another update when you're in Bali next, probably December, huh?
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.